Welcome to Macro Magic. I'm Sheri Damaris, and with me today, zooming in from Japan, is Patricio Garcia de Paredes. And Patricio co-teaches with me at the Macrobiotic Global Institute online. So we're really happy to host him, especially since it's a different time zone over there. And today we're going to talk about bones, how to keep your bones healthy. We've had so many people ask us questions about osteoporosis, osteopenia, arthritis, how to keep your bones really healthy on a macrobiotic diet. So Patricio's, we're going to talk to him about bones and how to keep them as healthy as possible. And then after commercial break, he's going to make a beautiful bean dish showing you all the ingredients that help build strength in your bones. So welcome, Patricio.
Hello, Sheri. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Real curious because osteoporosis especially is on the rise. What factors in the American diet are contributing to bone loss?
I would concentrate, at least today, with our limited time, in three major points. One is too much consumption of animal food, which has a weakening effect in the bone, on the bones. The other one is too much sugars and sweets and soda beverages that kind of leak so many of the minerals out of our bodies and have especially over time, a very weakening effect also. And the third one is too much processed foods and refined foods, which is something that like micronutrients, they say, right? Like those little nutrients that we need in small amounts, but it's so important, particularly minerals, good variety of minerals, is very much lacking in the modern diet for many people.
Why does meat eating, when we all grew up, we thought it was really healthy to eat lots of meat and animal food to strengthen our bodies. Why is that weakening to the bones?
Well, I think they over-focus on the idea that we need so much protein. And originally, they thought that animal quality protein was the best source of protein. So I think there was over-focus there. And the problem with the animal quality of protein is that, amino acids is very acidifying kind of quality for our blood. And the body needs to maintain this acid alkaline balance, and then it needs to, because of this acidifying effect, then it constantly needs to supply the blood with minerals. So even if you're taking in lots of minerals, your body is using it to create this balance of acid and alkaline, and eventually they keep on going out of your body. So that's a big problem with too much animal quality of protein that makes too much acidic blood quality, yes, and loss of bones as a result of that.
And how I like to explain it too is that our blood is really solidified bones. Like, so you start really, you are what you ate or you are what you eat, either way you want to say it. So whatever you're putting into your body is making your blood. So as your blood, gets more and more clean and full of minerals, it can make good bones. So there's a direct correlation there between blood and bones. So,
that's right. And I think another factor that is very important is the idea we need more to think of balanced nutrition, not to over-focus too much on one nutrient, because we ended up eating too much of one food and we forget the importance of a more balanced diet. And the American diet, more so than many other ways of patterns of eating around the world, is about half is just meat and dairy, which is very high in animal quality protein, but it lacks a great, like a wide variety of minerals that is very good and important for bone health. So you end up eating a lot of meat and you lack the vegetables and many other aspects, whole grains and other aspects of the diet that needs to create better balance overall. So it's the idea of making like very unbalanced way of eating. And that partly comes from over focusing on animal food too.
And we've had Colin Campbell on our TV show a number of times also talking about the dangers of dairy food with your
Mm-hmm.
bones. So what does dairy food, milk, milk, cheese, ice cream, those sorts of things, what does that do to your bones?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's a similar problem with the meat. Many times we think of milk only as calcium milk, but we forget that that milk contains a lot of fat, saturated fat, and it contains a lot of animal quality protein. So it's actually contributing to this acidification of the blood and loss of minerals. So although in the United States have one of the highest intakes of calcium, actually when you look at it from terms of, like you were mentioning about osteoporosis, is one of the highest incidence of osteoporosis in the world. So it's not just about taking more calcium; it's the quality of the calcium and the overall diet that makes the healthy effect in the bones that needs to take more into consideration now. Yeah.
And also, I always tell people milk is made for a baby calf to grow really fast, really large, really quickly.
That's
And
right.
so it's a different quality of calcium than the calcium we get through mother's milk to grow our bones.
Well, I recently actually read a report that was quite surprising, and it was coming from Harvard studies research, and it said that within a week, a person that would drink 1 cup of milk compared to a person that drinks 3 cups of milk a day, the one that drinks 3 cups of milk a day get much more higher rates of osteoporosis. So again, we kind of wrongly interpreted that the more we take one thing, the better, and we forget the idea of balance. And milk has been overemphasized as the only source of calcium, while we need to think of calcium coming from many much wider sources that come with other elements in the diet that are needed for healthy bones, because it's not just about only calcium. Otherwise, it would be very simple. The country that takes the most calcium would have the healthiest bones, and it's not so. So that actually kind of shows that we need to start to think more in terms of balance, not just one nutrient and over focus on certain element. And I come from Spain. I lived in the United States for over 10 years. And one of the things that surprised me a lot, I went when I'm in my high school years, and then I would go to my friend's house, and they, like for dinner or something, they invite me, and then they open the refrigerator, they have like a gallon of milk, and they would be drinking throughout the whole dinner, they would be drinking milk, and I had never seen that. So, the amount of milk was much higher than I had ever seen growing up in Spain. And yet, when it comes to health of bones, the United States is actually doing not so well.
Yeah, and what I love about our course at MGI, the Macrobiotic Global Institute, is the first level is all about nutrition. So you have some wonderful resources. We give you a full manual with charts, and it shows all the different amounts of calcium, magnesium in all the vegetables. And guess what? Collard greens have huge amounts of calcium. Kale, huge amounts of calcium. So if you're ever worried that you're not getting calcium, along, like you said, with other minerals that help build your bones, you don't have to worry anymore. Also, beans, the combination of greens plus beans really makes your bones strong. Many people come to me, who've studied macrobiotics or vegan cooking, asking me how to strengthen their bones. And one of the things I say, get off the refined sugar, the processed foods, and then ramp up your intake, especially of greens and beans.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's also about a return to more whole foods in general, because it's not just one particular food. It's a combination of various aspects in your diet day to day. So the idea of whole foods is very important, and actually it's being recommended by pretty much all nutritionists, so it's not just in macrobiotics, but we're all in the same kind of direction when it comes to whole food, and that includes whole grains, which contain much greater, like 60-70% more calcium and other minerals. And then, as you mentioned, the beans, we've forgotten about beans, but beans provide us with a very nice source of calcium, the greens. And there are a little bit more, less known foods, but they're becoming much, much known than, when we together started to change our diet and implement many ideas from macrobiotics. And the sea vegetables, for example, at the beginning, I remember it was so new. I was a kid when I started. But they're gaining a lot of popularity. They're being recommended much more. And it's not like you have to eat mountains of it, but it's about incorporating small amounts that add up to the whole grains and the beans and the vegetables and the greens and many other elements in our diet. So I think what I like about the course is that we are presenting a view that is very modern. It includes, the new nutritional research that's moving in a whole food, plant-based direction, but with a lot of common sense and, guiding people step by step on how they can create better balance. Because I think that's what people need to get a better sense of how to create better balance.
You mentioned sea vegetables. We're going to have Ocean's Balance on our next episode. And I was shocked to see kids bringing the little nori snacks, in their lunch boxes, because when we were kids, that was really weird and freaky. And now we even see kids eating nori, which is exciting because it's such a light, nice sea vegetable. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to see you cook a beautiful dish that really helps heal the bones and talk about all the components of it and why it's so healing.
Okay, great.
Welcome back to Macro Magic. I'm Sheri Damaris, and we're zooming Patricio Garcia de Paredes in from Japan. Patricio co-teaches with me on our online school program called Macrobiotic Global Institute, and you just saw a commercial for that school. So please stay in touch. You can join our mailing list and see all the upcoming workshops and classes. Some are free, which are exciting. So Patricio, what kind of dish are you preparing today for us that helps with the bones?
One thing that I am very grateful to macrobiotics over the years has been to get me in contact with the idea of, just like food can weaken health, food can be used to strengthen health. And that sometimes is to learn a little bit about the quality of each food and how it can help us to improve certain conditions or organs, but also the cooking the cooking also has a very strengthening effect. And today we're talking about bones. So there's a few elements of this dish that it's very strengthening for the bones. First, I'm going to be using beans, whole beans. These have been already cooked, so they're kind of soft. Obviously, when you cook your own beans is great, but if you are in a hurry, you can get already cooked beans. And then we're gonna cook with a few vegetables. One of them is gonna be cabbage, which contains a lot of fiber, and hard fiber is very good for the bones too. And you mentioned before about collard greens and kale, broccoli. There's many kind of greens that are kind of hardy and full of calcium and many minerals, which is also very good. And then we're going to combine it with a little bit of seed vegetables, which I'll talk a little bit about it later, but I'm going to get cooking. So I'm going to start with an onion, and I'm going to dice it.
Now, you mentioned the canned beans. In the United States, we recommend Eden brand or West Spray simply because they don't put BPAs in the lining of the can. Recently, we talked about forever chemicals, which they're putting more and more in packaged food. So when you buy packaged food, sometimes you don't know what's in the packaging. You might know what's in the ingredients in the food part, but not the packaging. So we know that Eden and West Spray don't have those BPAs in the cans.
Actually, Sheri, what you just mentioned, I find it very important. And particularly last year, I've been hearing many, not hearing, but going through many studies and news that were talking that they're starting to research how many chemicals come from the package into our food. And there were some studies that 50, 60 chemicals they found in food coming only from the package. So that's a huge, important factor that we need to watch out more. That we never thought much about the package, but now the package also
amazing.
It's contributing to like chemical exposure that we need to reduce as much as we can. So yes.
Yeah, and we were just talking
factor to consider.
We were just talking before the show about how, along with our physical health, the earth is really struggling right now with all these plastics and chemicals. And the best thing we can do is teach each individual how to eat better, because once you eat better, you make better choices. And Patricio has been doing that all around the world. These are pictures we're showing viewers of him in Malaysia, teaching where they're starting to build a macrobiotic center there. So many, many different cultures have different ways of eating close to the earth, and we want to honor that and actually inspire those students to bring out what their great-great-grandmothers ate and the ingredients they used, as long as they're all natural and organic. So our hopes and dreams are to influence as many people as we can to begin to eat in a more balanced, natural way. And hopefully all the problems that we're experiencing now, the lack of biodiversity, the chemicalized fertilizers and pesticides and factory farms will start to decrease. Isn't that right?
That's right. And sometimes I like to make a comment that when they ask me like macrobiotic cooking, what is it about, and so on. And sometimes I like to tell people that it's something like learning to cook with a grandmother, in which you get a lot of experience, so you get to cook better actually, but you also get some wisdom into it and advice coming from observation and experience. So macrobiotics actually also, as part of what we do, not everything is new, but also trying to either recover or maintain a lot of the wonderful food culture aspects of our food culture, traditional food cultures from around the world, and sharing it with other people. And there was a lot of plant-based cooking, more contact with the earth, like you just mentioned, growing and processing food with less chemicals, which is also important right now, because like personal health and planetary health are really linked together, and all the efforts we do to improve our way of eating eventually has a positive repercussion on the earth as a whole. So it's a wonderful way to, you care for yourself better, you care for the earth better. It's like the same. It's actually the same.
It's like an outer expression of who we are. Like your house represents your health, but then you go further than that out into the world. That's beautiful. And tell me about Malaysia. What was it like teaching there, and how did you find the people and what they knew about cooking natural foods?
Okay. So, but by the way, just to keep in track with what I'm doing, I'm sauteing a little bit the onions with a little bit of oil just to sweeten them up. I'm gonna cut the cabbage and saute, and in the meantime, I tell you a little bit about Malaysia. My direct contact with Malaysia lately comes from a student that came to study with me, and when she went back home, she started giving cooking classes, and little by little more people became interested. And then eventually she wanted to offer a little bit more serious course about macradics, and eventually we started to work together. And because of the COVID, I was not able to travel there, so we worked online and we did lots of cooking together. And what I found was there's a couple of things that are very nice about Malaysia. Is first of all, they have a wonderful food culture, very rich in variety. They have the Malay food culture, the local one, and then they have Indian food culture a little bit coming in, and then there's a large number of people that came from China, and they brought a very rich food culture from China. Nonya cooking, they call it. It's kind of like a combination of Malay and Chinese. So they're very open about cooking in many different styles, and they have access to very good quality healthy foods, and they're very, what I find also is very nice is their interest. So immediately they start sending me many questions and asking me many questions, so they're eager to learn, and so it's a wonderful environment to introduce new ideas for improving like dietary habits and lifestyle habits. And so I went this year, last year, finally in December, and we did lots of events and gatherings, and we went to visit, people who are growing organic food, and we did lots of gathering where people were sharing ideas for cooking, and they easily integrated many of the cooking that we are showing as part of macradics, like sea vegetables, and the use of fermented food also. They were interested, like miso and traditionally made soy sauce and pickles. All of this also contribute to good health, and obviously has a good repercussion directly on the bones too, because if the blood quality is stronger, eventually the bones also get stronger. And a lot of our health comes from the quality of our blood, which also has to do a lot with the quality of our digestive system. And I'm sure you've heard, Sheri, a lot about probiotics and prebiotics and the importance of fiber and bacteria, fermented foods. And if our digestive system gets better, then our whole body gets better. So it's all kind of connected. And food is related to all of that.
Yeah, oftentimes when I'm counseling, especially older women, they love their wine. And I think that's one of the contributors to weaker bones, because if you drink it really frequently, it's got an acidifying effect, just like the sugars and the processed foods. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're looking to strengthen your bones.
Yeah, and many of the foods that we use in macradic regularly for seasoning also, I think, also very important, because they contribute to mineralize the body in a more mild way without causing too many troubles of excess sodium, etc. So, for example, our salt is more unrefined salt, which is not so high in sodium, but contain many other wider variety range of trace minerals and other minerals. We use naturally fermented miso and soy sauce and pickles. And yes, they are salty. We shouldn't abuse, obviously. But it contains a much wider variety of nutrients combined together. It's not just salt like sodium. It also contains potassium, magnesium, much wider range. So I think that's also very important to maintain, the alkalinity in our blood and the mineral balance that we are also talking about in this.
That's such an important point. We're going to start to wrap things up. So I know the beans take a little bit longer to cook, but maybe you could just scoop out some and just show them on a plate of what
Yes.
they'll eventually look like. And you can find, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I was going to say that, yes, like you mentioned, this would need a bit more cooking, but because the beans were cooked already and I kind of sauteed the vegetables very well, actually, it's pretty much ready. And I've already sauteed the vegetable, added the cooked beans. You would simmer for a few more minutes, simmer well so that the salt is well combined. And then at the end, what I wanted to mention is we're going to add a little bit of dulse. And dulse is a local sea vegetable for you. Yeah. When I was in Boston, close to Maine, that's where they were getting the dulse that we were using in those days. So, it's many people enjoy it. So you may add it toward the end. So I'm going to turn it off with a little bit of dulse. Dulse comes in many ways that are very easy to use. It's one of the, if you want to start with sea vegetables, they have flakes and they have snacks. And you can just sprinkle on salads. And so I'm going to serve a little bit so yes. You can see a little bit.
Very good for your thyroid too, in addition to your bones. Very nice for your thyroid. So as Patricio serves up the bean, cabbage, white bean, onion, and dulse dish, we're going to remind viewers that we have a level 1 course coming up this April in 2023. We would love for you to join. We also have a beginner package online that you can take anytime and go through at your own pace. They include cooking videos, lectures, ingredient lists, how to set up your kitchen. And like I said, if you go to our website, either macromagic.com or the Macrobiotic Global Institute.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. And in that, you'll get the recipe from this show, but you'll also get notifications when we have free full-day workshops. And I think Patricio will be teaching ones shortly on one-pot meal, nabe dish that's traditionally cooked in Japan. So we hope you can join that. And I think that's in March, right?
March 5th. That's right. That's right. And I'm going to be cooking a couple of styles of nabe, which is kind of like a hot pot. And the good point about that, we were thinking, sometimes people cannot cook so many dishes all at once in one meal. So it's usually a meal that contains many elements, very balanced, and you can share it with many people, and it's very nourishing and kind of fun to make and eat.
So the dish looks beautiful, Patricio. Thank you so much for coming online and cooking a really healthy bone dish to support the bones. And viewers, thanks for watching. Make sure, like I said, to visit our website, macromagic.com, to see our previous shows and to catch up on the latest news. And we'll see everyone next time.
Thank you very much.